What's up, audit fans? Dr. Amanda White here, and today I'm talking about the various accounting qualifications available here in Australia. Now, this question comes about from a question that somebody asked me in the comments, and I've actually been just on a trip around China talking about accounting as a qualification. And I thought I've never actually made a video on all of the different options that you have after you finish your accounting degree. So let's get into it. There are three designations I'm going to talk about today: Chartered Accountants, CPA Australia, and IPA, or the Institute of Public Accountants. Those are the three main forms of qualification that we see here in Australia. CA, CPA, IPA. Now, you have some people who are members of all three. Someone like former IFAC President Rachel Grimes, who's an Australian. She works at Westpac. She's also a UTS business grad. She's a member of all three of those associations. For most people, though, they tend to join just one. So how am I going to evaluate the differences in all of these? Well, I thought I would compare and contrast based on a number of different requirements. The first one is going to be what you need to do to be able to start that professional qualification, the length of time and the modules in the professional qualification itself, and then finally what sort of professional experience you need to become fully qualified as one of those members. Let's start with the education requirements that are needed to start each of the programs. With Chartered Accountants and CPA Australia, they both require you to have an appropriate Australian undergraduate bachelor's degree with a major in accounting. Now, that degree needs to come from an institution that is accredited with CA or CPA Australia. All universities within Australia are accredited. If you're at a non-university higher education provider and doing a bachelor's degree, then you'll need to check whether that qualification is appropriate. A lot of master's programs, like the Master of Professional Accounting offered at many universities, also give you the right subjects to be able to start those programs. So at CA and CPA Australia, you need to have that university degree. With the IPA, their requirements are a little bit more relaxed. You can have a diploma, an advanced diploma, or a bachelor's degree. So compared to the other ones, if you've just done a diploma or an advanced diploma at TAFE or at another institution, then you can qualify to start their programs. So they're all fairly similar in terms of that entry requirement. The second criteria I want to look at is the programs themselves. Now, Chartered Accountants has a 5-module program covering 4 technical areas and a capstone. On average, it takes about 18 months to 2 years to complete those 5 units of study. With CPA Australia, CPA has 4 subjects plus 2 electives. Now, that's the important difference with CPA Australia. There are that ability to have electives. So you could do advanced work in your particular work specialization or area of interest. With Chartered Accountants, there is no room for specialization. Everyone does the same thing. When it comes to the IPA, everybody needs to do 6 standard subjects. They all cover more advanced level financial reporting, management accounting, accounting standards, auditing, taxation, and business ethics, subjects that you would have studied in your university or non-university degrees, the bachelor's and master's programs. So then the third component becomes what sort of professional experience is required. Now, there was a requirement many years ago when I was an undergraduate student that to start the CA program, you needed to have at least a certain period of time's worth of work experience. In doing the research for this video, I discovered that's no longer the case. You can start the CA program, the CPA program, or the IPA programs without any current work experience. You don't need to be employed anywhere at the time. You can begin those programs without having a job. Now, you do need a job to be able to become a full member of either of these 3 institutions. With CA and CPA, you need to have a 36-month mentored experience program or professional experience program. Those mentors are going to need to sign off that you've met certain technical competencies related to accounting, as well as other soft or super skills or employability skills like teamwork, communication, writing skills, etc. So for CA and CPA Australia, they're pretty similar, exactly 36 months in those specific requirements. Now, the IPA program does also require mentored experience to be able to gain the full membership to the IPA. However, the IPA program doesn't actually specify in the materials I read about how long that period should be. So I guess it could mean that you could do your professional experience component with the IPA in a shorter period of time, but the mentor has to sign off. So if you happen to be really fantastic and you have a lot of practical experience but no qualification, you might get that sign-off period a little bit sooner. Whereas if you are perhaps just starting out in accounting, you might need a longer period for that mentoring. In all of them, you need to find your own mentor. They don't match you up with someone. You might need to look around at your workplace or find somebody at a different organization. If there are no CAs, for example, at your company, you need to find a CA to mentor you. Then you need to think about, is there international support? Now, for all of these, CA, CPA, and IPA, you can't just pick up your Australian qualification and move to the US and be granted a practicing license. In all of those countries, in most countries around the world, to be able to practice as an accountant, have a license to sign off on financial statements, etc., you're going to need to sit some country-specific requirements that are usually around laws and regulations and tax. Now that doesn't, you might still be able to take your CA qualification and work on an audit team in New York or in Amsterdam, but you're just not going to be able to sign off on those accounts. So plenty of people still do travel with their qualification without having to do extra studies overseas. So then you want to think about how much support do you need from your organization. CA, CPA, and the IPA all provide further training for their members. And for all of them, there are requirements for CPD, which is continuing professional development. They all have a certain number of hours that you need to do each year. Some of that you might be able to do with your firm. Others, they encourage you to go to professional conferences like, for example, the CPA Congress or the Chartered Accountants Audit Conference or Accounting Conference or Business Forum, events that they put on during the year. So which qualification should you choose? There's no easy answer, unfortunately. In the old days, it was CAs went to public firms, people who did the CPA worked in commercial organizations. Now there's a mix in both sorts of organizations. The key will be to look at what suits you in terms of the study modes. Do you want to come to workshops? Do you want it to be mostly distance education? And what is your employer willing to support? Some firms are very staunchly CA only, some are CPA, some institutions or organizations will give you the choice. If you need to find a mentor, then maybe think about what mentors' qualifications exist at your firm. If they're mostly CPAs, they'll be more easily able to guide you in the CPA process. If you wanted to do the CA, but you're at a company that mostly hires CPAs, finding that CA mentor is going to be a little bit more difficult. So which qualification do I have? I have a Chartered Accountant's qualification, CA qualification down the academic pathway. I don't have a CPA, but I do a lot of work with CPA Australia in promoting the profession. So I hope that gave you some more information on the different sorts of qualifications. I know there's no easy choices, but whatever qualification you choose, commit to that qualification, become part of that community by attending meetings, networking, because those people are going to be one of your biggest support networks. If you thought the video was useful, give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions about CA, CPA or IPA, please drop them in the comments. Consider subscribing and I will see you next time. Bye.